Hello and welcome to this Property Life podcast. This evening I'm joined by the lovely Caroline Claydon up there in Scotland. How are you today, Caroline?
Good. It's late at night as we're recording this, and it's been a full-on day. I feel like every 5 minutes is accounted for at the moment.
Yeah, so I thought just for a change, what we might do on tonight's podcast is just have a look at some of the questions that we've been asked through the Property Wealth System network. So we have a range of different experience levels within our network. And so we get lots of different questions on all sorts of things. And it will probably be quite interesting for the listeners just to hear some of those questions and then, you know, what the answers are as we see fit, Caroline, I guess.
Sure. Excellent.
All right. So I'm going to crack on. I'm going to read the questions out, Caroline. And if you want to jump in with some answers and I'll throw my tuppence worth in as we go through. Okay, first question, auctions. Okay, I've been reading all the conditions and such and just realised today whilst registering for a bid that I have to have money ready for each lot I bid on. If I lose the bid, they redeposit the money back into my account. I've had my eye on a few things, but I don't have that much capital ready in my bank account to be deposited just like that. How do you handle auctions?
I guess this is the online version versus the in-person version, of course, isn't it?
Yes, I guess. Well, I think that the having the deposit money or some sort of exchange money ready kind of counts for both sides of those. To an extent, and whilst they basically pre-authorize your card or your account, don't they, which kind of reserves the money in its source place, and then the bank will then give it back to you if you're not successful. That process, though, however, can take up to 3 or 4 working days, so it can really affect cash flow and your banking, I guess, can't it?
Well, if you're going for, let's say, or you have your eye on maybe 3 or 4 different lots in the same auction on the same night, that doesn't mean you need 3 or 4 times that deposit. So that battles or crosses off that issue. Also, does it need to be your cash? Could it be someone else's cash that's, you know, pre-approved, or could it be, you know, funds from another source, say credit cards or personal loan that you could access? Really, the auction house just want to be comfortable that when you win that bid that you're good for it.
Yeah, because ultimately when that bid closes, and if you are the winning bidder, you will have exchanged. And I think that's the point of this, and that you're exactly right. The auction company want to know that they've got a viable sale on their hands.
The other angle, though, that's probably worth mentioning at this point is, because I've been asked a lot about auctions recently, and I'm just saying to my students, just why are you needing to go to auctions? There's so many other deals available that you don't even need to put yourself under that extra pressure of buying under the auction conditions, because, you know, vendors' attitudes have changed. We have seen that over the last month or two. You know, agents are getting very twitchy about how things are moving. And therefore, this idea that you get the bargains in the auctions, that doesn't exist really anymore. There are enough deals to be had under normal buying conditions where you don't need to have those deposits sat there. So, you know, if I was starting out right now, again, with absolutely no capital whatsoever, I wouldn't be shopping in an auction. I just wouldn't put myself in that position, because you just don't need to. There are other deals out there for you to be had. So I know that probably doesn't answer the question about the deposits, but it's just another angle to look at this and think, well, okay, you've got your eye on a few things. The question you want to be asking yourself is, can you get them pre-auction? Can you be getting to the vendor and solving their situation without needing it to go to auction, so that you can get that deal over the line before you actually even need to go down that route?
I think post-auction is definitely my favourite on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, another question that has come in. Has anyone experienced a severe down valuation from a lender? I.e., you have solid comparables within a quarter-mile radius and the surveyor still down values the property. In this case scenario, the surveyor is not interested in the valuation pack. what is the best approach?
Oh, we've all been there,
Oh,
haven't we? This is part of the game. You got to expect this to happen. I mean, we teach our students, don't we, to be super cautious on what we think the back end value is going to be that a surveyor gives us, but that doesn't legislate for a surveyor who's absolutely not interested in even seeing comparables. I think we've definitely had a down valuation of over 100 grand on one of our projects. You've got a couple of options. You can try and contest and give all your evidence. You're not going to get very far with that, though, are you? No.
They don't like to be proved wrong, and they will never admit it.
Next option is my preferred, and that's just go back to your broker, start a new finance process with a new lender that uses a different surveyor. That's it.
That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, I mean, it slows everything down. You maybe lose 2-3 months, but I'd rather lose 2 to 3 months and get a valuation of my money out rather than not. So
yeah. And I guess it does depend on, how much it is being downvalued. If it's downvalued by 10 to 20K, then let's just look at a different way of having that money left in. Whose money is it going to be? How are we going to service that? And work out a solution that way.
But yeah, I had an HMO, because HMO is probably the ones that you will have challenges with, right? Because again, surveyors might not know what they are, or it is too difficult, or is this a commercial valuation, or is it a bricks and mortar valuation? But you have got a wee bit of flexibility if it's not too crazily downvalued, that you can get up to 80% loan to values on those types of products. So where you might have thought, I'll take 75% out of it, if it's downvalued by anywhere within that 5%, we'll just take an 80% product, and then that just covers the problem.
Yeah. And moving on to then our third question, does anyone know the best method in the current market to value an HMO? So we have kind of covered that. And literally this question is, it depends.
It massively depends, doesn't it? It's really hard when people come to us and ask us questions, and we don't give them a hard and fast, this is how it is. Locations and all sorts come into play, don't they?
They really do. And, we can give some experiential guidelines around, is it an Article 4 area? How many bedrooms does it have? Is it radically altered from, a house that is a normal residential house? And, you can ask these questions, and the answers of, yes, it's in Article 4. It's got 6 bedrooms. It's got en suites. They can point towards a commercial valuation. But it does depend which lender you go with.
Yep.
All right, on to one that is it's not one that you want to have a question when you're having your tea. Okay, one of our buy-to-lets was left in a very poor state by the last tenants. The bottom of the stairs stinks of dog pee. We've removed the carpets and it's soaked into the concrete. Has anyone got any ideas of how to remove the smell?
Well, I'm a big believer in bicarbonate of soda and vinegar. That's my little go-to on a smelly situation. What about you, Sarah?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're living through this at the moment, not into concrete, but we had a brand new buy-to-let that was a commercial to residential. Someone's been in there for 6 months. Sadly, they've got some issues. They've left the property in horrific state. They had 2 massive dogs that were just left all day. There is literally dog mess everywhere in the property. So we haven't had dog pee so much, but yeah, certainly the other. What people have said to me is there is a product called ozone or something like that, ozone generator, Jay's fluid, which has its own remarkable smell as well. So, yeah, I think there's a few things. I think it does depend on the material that it's got into, but maybe we need a cleaning expert one day to really help us on all of this. Has anyone done any serviced accommodation deals above a retail outlet, and how does it affect the refinance? A mixed use property.
Yeah, well, I guess it depends. Well, if it's in Edinburgh or Scotland, then you'd have to get your license. First
True.
and foremost. But how does it affect the refinance? Well, I guess like any refinance, they would look at you'd need to have a lender that, number one, will lend above commercial. Number two, will give you some kind of commercial lending on the basis that it's SA and not Resi or HMO or whatever. I think that's what my take on is. It. What about you, Sarah?
Yeah, I think, whether you decided that you were going to split the titles, maybe split out the SA aspect of it. How big is that SA? We're not sure from the question that we've been given, but if we're assuming it's like a 3-bedroom flat that they wanted to SA, you could put it through to C3, keep the retail as a separate, split those titles. Obviously, that has its own complications and added complexities. But it could help on the refinance. Otherwise, you just need to find a lender who is open to mixed-use commercial. Someone like Shawbrook is going to do that sort of thing generally all day long. And yes, you will pay for it. But as long as the numbers work, and if you're sweating that property as much as you can in terms of using it as a serviced accommodation, and then obviously getting a good tenant in the retail outlet, then that should work okay.
Yeah, we're not clear from the question if they own the retail outlet or if it just is an SA unit above a retail.
Yeah.
But you're right, that splitting the title would be a great way of doing it. Although, is that sledgehammer to crack a nut? It depends on the size of it, like you say, in the value.
It does. I mean, if we looked at, some of our PWS trainers, like Paul Murray and Alex Murray, for example, who are doing, well, it's a hotel above I think it's a restaurant or it's retail, something like that in Leeds city centre. Completely different thing, hey? It's a commercial valuation on both sides. They actually only own the hotel above, and having a commercial outlet below makes no odds whatsoever to their refinance.
Yeah, spot on. There we are.
Okay, going forward on serviced accommodation, what are the new regulations? Well, that again depends on what part of the country you are living in. So yes, Scotland has gone forth and forged its own way, haven't you, Caroline?
Lord knows how that is going to look in a year's time. Lord knows. It's wild, really wild. Like they have just taken a sledgehammer to the whole industry. Look, it's great for me to have a hotel business. That means that lack of Airbnbs, for example, then have driven the room rate and the demand through the roof. But imagine the people who have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these units that they've been running as their business, suddenly boom, gone overnight. It's wild. I don't think it's going to stay that way. I think there's litigation coming against the councils. I don't think the council know really what they're doing. They're just refusing everybody, even if they do have their own main entrance. And so as it stands at the moment, if you want to do SA at all in Scotland, you need to go for planning to get a license to allow you to do it if you haven't had that unit running for 10 years previously. Oh, and you need to get a little petition together from all your neighbours to say that they're quite happy for it to continue.
Good luck on that.
Yeah.
And obviously in England, we have had some change to regulations as well, which was effective from the 1st of October. And that is mainly around fire safety. The best place to find out information on that is to come to any education provider like Property Wealth System, but also you can go to Visit England websites. There's still webinars running on those fire safety, and it does depend on the type of house or property that you have. And you are given a couple of years leeway on some items in terms of things like interlinked smokes. But essentially, these are all things just to keep you safe, keep your guests safe, and just allow us all to sleep at night in terms of fire safety. They're a great thing, in my opinion. I think it does raise the standards. I'm sure whilst this is happening that there's not going to be enough inspectors out there to go through and actually ensure that the standards are being adhered to. But as professionals, we would say read it through, get a professional fire risk assessment done, and make sure you action everything on that FRA. You can do it yourself if you think you're competent enough, your property is small enough. But ultimately, these are, this is safety, fire safety. Don't take it lightly, and just get your FRA done and abide by the guidance on there. Okay, we are in the final stages of our first refurb. I have a quick question, if that's okay. What does everyone do for window furnishings before they rent out a property? I've been comparing rental prices nearby and noticed that some of the recently refurbished properties like ours have nothing on the windows, no blinds, no curtains, etc. What does everyone else do?
Ooh.
Very specific question.
That is very specific. I think we put blinds in on our rentals. I'm pretty sure we do. Again, I would be going to the letting agent saying, what's the market expecting? Yeah.
I think, this, I think people often ask when it's your first one and you don't have a recipe of what you did last time. People often go, well, should I put cookers in? Should I put fridges in? Should I put washing machines in? And everyone kind of has a different answer, don't they, as to what they might do. But I think there's no right or wrong, as you said. Go to talk to your letting agent, see what's expected in the market. We do tend to put blinds on. I don't put curtains on just because I think that sometimes people can be quite heavy-handed with a curtain, and it can often rip off and cause damage, especially in my student places. I don't have anything there, but in my buy-to-lets, I'll put blinds up. And on the appliances question, it wasn't asked, but I'm going to answer it anyway. We put in hobs, obviously extractor fans and ovens, but we don't put in anything around washing machines. And sometimes we don't put fridges or freezers in, but sometimes we do. And it kind of depends what the letting agent's telling us.
Yeah, I think always just have in your mind, whatever you put in, you're then responsible for. So if they come in and go, oh, this blind is squint, or it's not blackout, it lets the light in, can you get something better? You're just like, maybe it's just sometimes just not to put the blind in at all and let them sort it out. It's just, depends on what your appetite is for that kind of thing.
Absolutely. And also, I guess, who your tenant profile is as well. If you're doing luxury buy-to-let in the middle of London, then, go all out and get some good stuff going on in there. If you're doing a 2-bedroom buy-to-let where, your rental price might be $600 a month, it's slightly less desirable to put all the bells and whistles in. Fantastic. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure spending the evening with you, Caroline, and we will catch up soon.
Good luck with the dog poo. Hope you get rid of that soon.
Indeed. Thank you very much.
See you soon. Take care.